Hey there and welcome. Today we're diving into the foundations of financial literacy, something that affects every aspect of our lives, but is often overlooked in school. We're talking about the financial basics that everyone should understand. Let's start with budgeting. Sounds simple, right? But it's actually one of the most crucial steps to taking control of your finances. At its core, budgeting is about knowing where your money's going. Think of it as creating a roadmap for your money to follow, ensuring you're spending wisely and saving for what matters most. A budget isn't just about restriction, it's about awareness, keeping track of your income, expenses, and goals. Once you know where your money's going, you can decide where it should go next. Now on to saving. Saving is essential, not just for emergencies, but also for future plans, whether it's buying a home, starting a business, or retiring comfortably. But saving isn't just about putting money aside. It's about making sure you have a plan for how much and how often. Even small amounts, when consistently saved, can add up to something big over time. The key here is consistency. Setting aside a fixed portion of your income each month ensures that you're building wealth without even realizing it. Next up, understanding credit. This one can be tricky, but it's essential. Credit is not just about borrowing money, it's about borrowing power. When used responsibly, credit allows you to make larger purchases, invest in your future, or even build a positive financial reputation. But misuse it, and it can lead to debt, interest fees, and damage to your credit score. The key to managing credit is balance, knowing how much you can afford to borrow and making sure you can pay it back on time. So why is all this important? Well, without a solid understanding of these basics, it's easy to fall into bad financial habits that can hold you back. But once you grasp budgeting, saving, and credit, you're equipped with the knowledge to make better decisions with your money. But this is just the beginning. We'll explore something even deeper, how financial education can shape the decisions you make in life. Whether it's choosing a career, buying a home, or planning for retirement. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Have you ever wondered how your financial decisions impact the course of your life? It's no secret. Financial education plays a huge role in the choices we make every day. But here's the kicker. Understanding finances isn't just about managing your money. It's about shaping your future. Today, we're diving into the profound effect financial education can have on your life decisions. Let's start with career choices. Financial literacy can actually guide you in selecting the right career path. Think about it. Knowing how much you want to earn, understanding the cost of living in different areas, or even negotiating your salary, all stem from being financially aware. When you're educated about money, you're better prepared to make decisions that align with your financial goals and ambitions. For instance, some people might prioritize a higher-paying job, while others might value work-life balance or job satisfaction. The point is, financial knowledge gives you the power to decide which path is right for you. Then consider the impact on major life events, buying a home, starting a family, or saving for retirement. Every one of these decisions involves a deep understanding of your financial situation. Without financial education, you might find yourself overwhelmed by the complexities of mortgages, student loans, or retirement planning. But with the right knowledge, you can navigate these decisions with confidence. You'll know what you can afford, how much you need to save, and which financial tools will work best for your situation. And it's not just about the big stuff. Financial literacy also plays a role in everyday choices, how you spend, how you save, and even how you invest. The more you understand money, the more intentional you can be in making decisions that move you closer to your goals. Now, if you've been feeling inspired to take control of your financial future, you're not alone. But there's one important thing to keep in mind. Even the most financially literate individuals can make mistakes that can have long-lasting effects. We've all been there, making decisions we later wish we could undo. But when it comes to our finances, the stakes are much higher. One wrong move can send us back years or even decades. That's why today we're focusing on some of the most common financial mistakes people make, and more importantly, how you can avoid them. Let's begin with one of the biggest mistakes. Living beyond your means. It's easy to get caught up in lifestyle inflation when your spending increases just because your income does. Whether it's upgrading to a bigger house, driving a fancier car, or indulging in expensive habits, This often leads to unnecessary debt. The key is simple. Just because you can afford something doesn't mean you should buy it. Instead, aim to live below your means. Prioritize saving and investing so that your future self can enjoy the rewards. Next, let's talk about ignoring debt. Many people think that debt isn't a big deal as long as they can make the monthly payments. But debt, especially high-interest debt like credit cards, can spiral out of control quickly. Instead of just managing it, focus on paying it off as aggressively as possible. The longer you carry debt, the more it eats away at your financial freedom. Another critical mistake is neglecting to save for the future. Whether it's retirement or an emergency fund, failing to save early enough can cost you dearly in the long run. Even if you can only put aside a small amount now, starting early is more important than waiting until you feel like you can afford to save. Compound interest works in your favor the sooner you start. And here's another big one. Not understanding the importance of credit. Your credit score doesn't just affect your ability to borrow money. It influences the interest rates you'll pay on loans and even your ability to rent or get a job. Make sure to regularly check your credit report, avoid maxing out your credit cards, and always pay your bills on time. Good credit is one of the most valuable assets you can have. Lastly, let's talk about putting all your money into one basket. Many people make the mistake of not diversifying their investments. Whether it's all in stocks, real estate, or any single asset class, this leaves you vulnerable to market changes. Diversifying helps to balance risk and protect your wealth in different economic conditions. As we wrap up today's discussion, you might be wondering, how do these mistakes tie into building real wealth? Well, understanding these pitfalls is just the first step. We'll dive deeper into the role of financial literacy in building lasting wealth and how you can use the right knowledge to create a solid foundation for your financial future. Building wealth isn't just about earning more money. It's about understanding how money works and using that knowledge to make smart decisions. That's where financial literacy comes in. It's the key to unlocking your financial future. So, why exactly is financial literacy so important when it comes to wealth building? Let's break it down. First, financial literacy helps you manage your money more effectively. It's not enough to simply earn. You need to know how to save, invest, and spend wisely. When you understand the basics of budgeting, tracking expenses, and prioritizing savings, you can make your money work for you rather than the other way around. For instance, creating a solid budget allows you to see where your money's going and make adjustments, which is crucial for building wealth over time. Next, financial education empowers you to make informed investment decisions. Investing is one of the most powerful ways to build wealth, but without the right knowledge, it can feel risky and overwhelming. A strong understanding of investment options, stocks, bonds, real estate, and even alternative investments gives you the confidence to diversify your portfolio. The more you know, the better equipped you are to choose investments that align with your goals and risk tolerance. Then consider the impact financial literacy has on long-term planning. Wealth doesn't happen overnight. It's the result of consistent, well-informed decisions over time. Whether you're saving for retirement, a home, or a big life event, understanding compound interest, tax advantages, and the right saving strategies will help you build a solid foundation. Financial literacy also helps you avoid costly mistakes, like getting stuck in high-interest debt or failing to take advantage of tax breaks that could have boosted your savings. Another important aspect of financial literacy is risk management. Wealth building isn't just about accumulating assets. It's about protecting them. Being financially literate means understanding things like insurance, estate planning, and emergency funds. By having these protections in place, you safeguard your wealth against unforeseen events that could otherwise set you back. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I understand why financial literacy is important for wealth building, but how do I keep learning? That's where the next step comes in. To truly build lasting wealth, financial literacy isn't something you learn once and forget about. We'll explore how you can continuously improve your financial knowledge and stay ahead in the game. Stay tuned to learn how to keep leveling up your financial skills. Understanding money isn't something you can learn in a day. It's a lifelong journey. And just like any skill, improving your financial knowledge takes effort and dedication. So how do you keep learning and growing in the world of personal finance? Let's break it down. First, it's important to set aside time for learning. Financial knowledge isn't just about reading a book and being done. It's about consistently making the effort to improve. Whether it's through listening to podcasts during your commute, reading articles or books, or attending webinars, make learning a habit. The more consistently you engage with new information, the more it becomes second nature. Next, diversify your sources of information. Financial literacy covers so many areas: budgeting, investing, taxes, debt management, retirement planning, that it's crucial to explore multiple perspectives. Don't just stick to one author or one source. The more diverse your information, the better you can build a comprehensive understanding. Follow reputable blogs, YouTube channels, or financial advisors to get different viewpoints. Each source can offer valuable insights, and combining them will give you a well-rounded view of personal finance. It's also essential to learn from your own experience. While textbooks and advice can help, nothing beats hands-on learning. Start by managing your own finances, track your spending, set goals, and review your progress regularly. Mistakes will happen, and that's okay. What's important is learning from them, tweaking your strategies, and improving over time. The financial decisions you make today will teach you lessons that no book or podcast can. Another great way to stay on top of financial knowledge is to engage with a community. Whether it's joining online forums, participating in social media groups, or attending local meetups, connecting with others on the same journey can provide invaluable advice, feedback, and motivation. A community can also expose you to strategies and concepts that you might not come across on your own. And let's not forget the power of mentorship. Having someone who's more experienced guide, you can fast-track your financial education. Whether it's a financial advisor or a friend who's good with money, finding someone to ask questions and learn from can make all the difference. So now that you know how to stay sharp in your financial knowledge, it's time to put it into action. We'll dive into the crucial step of analyzing your income and expenses. Understanding where your money is coming from and where it's going is the first step toward taking full control of your finances. You won't want to miss this, because when you master your income and expenses, you unlock the path to smarter financial decisions. Before you can create a realistic budget, you need to understand where your money is coming from and where it's going. This means taking a closer look at both your income and expenses, and in doing so, gaining clarity on your financial picture. Let's start with your income. Income is the money that flows into your bank account, and it's essential to know exactly how much you're working with. This includes your salary, freelance earnings, business profits, and any other source of income. Make sure to account for all sources. Sometimes it's easy to forget about side hustles or small streams of passive income. Once you have a clear total of your monthly income, you'll be ready to compare it against your expenses. Now let's talk about expenses. This is where the real work begins. You'll want to break your expenses down into fixed and variable categories. Fixed expenses are the ones that don't change much each month, like rent or mortgage payments, utilities, and car payments. These are non-negotiable, so it's important to know what these are exactly. Then we have variable expenses. These can change month to month, such as groceries, dining out, entertainment, or even transportation costs. It's easy to overlook these smaller items, but over time, they can add up. Track your spending for at least a month to get a full picture of where the money's going. You can use apps or spreadsheets, but even jotting it down manually can help you become more mindful of your habits. Once you've listed everything, take a step back and look at the big picture. Do your expenses align with your income? Are you spending more than you're earning? What can be adjusted or eliminated to save more or avoid debt? This is a key moment where you can identify areas for improvement, and from there, we can start to build a realistic budget that works for you. So now that we've laid the foundation, you might be wondering, how do you actually choose the right way to organize all this? We'll dive into the different budgeting methods that can help you take control of your money no matter what your financial goals are. Stay tuned. Choosing the right budgeting method is the next crucial step in building a financial plan that works for you. Creating a budget can feel like a huge task, but the real challenge is finding the right method that works for you. With so many options out there, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. The good news is there's no one-size-fits-all when it comes to budgeting. You just need to find what fits your lifestyle and goals. Let's start with one of the most popular methods, the envelope system. This method is simple and effective. You break down your expenses into categories, like groceries, entertainment, and transportation, and set a certain amount of cash aside for each one. When the envelope for groceries is empty, that's it for the month. This method works best for people who want a hands-on, visual way to track their spending. It's great for managing impulse purchases and staying disciplined. Next up, we have zero-based budgeting. With this approach, you give every dollar a job. You start by listing your income and then assign that income to all your expenses until you hit zero. This doesn't mean you'll have $0 left at the end of the month. Rather, you've budgeted your income in a way that ensures every dollar is accounted for, whether it's for savings, debt repayment, or spending. This method works well for people who want to have full control and clarity over their finances, ensuring every dollar serves a purpose. Another popular option is the 50-30-20 rule. This is a simple yet powerful way to divide your income. You allocate 50% to needs, things like rent, bills, and food, 30% to wants, such as entertainment, dining out, and hobbies, and the remaining 20% to savings and debt repayment. This method is great for beginners who want a straightforward approach without getting too caught up in the details. Now, how do you decide which method is best for you? It really depends on your personal financial situation and goals. If you're looking for simplicity and don't mind using cash, the envelope system could be your best bet. If you prefer a more detailed, proactive approach to your spending, zero-based budgeting might be the way to go. And if you need a balanced approach without getting bogged down by the specifics, the 50-30-20 rule could be just what you need. Remember, budgeting is a tool to help you reach your financial goals, not something that should cause stress or frustration. So choose a method that feels natural for you and stick with it. Now that you've chosen the right budgeting method for your needs, the next step is making sure you keep track of everything. We'll dive into how to track and monitor your spending effectively so you can stay on top of your budget and ensure you're sticking to your financial plan. It's time to take control and start seeing the results of your budgeting efforts. One of the most powerful steps you can take in your budgeting journey is understanding exactly where your money's going. Without this awareness, it's impossible to make informed decisions about how to adjust your spending. Tracking and monitoring your spending isn't just about keeping a tally of every purchase. It's about gaining control, awareness, and the ability to make conscious financial choices. Let's start with the basics. How do you track your spending effectively? Well, the first step is simply being mindful of every expense. Whether it's a cup of coffee or a new gadget, every purchase adds up. And to make tracking easier, there are a variety of methods you can use. One popular method is using a spending journal. This can be a physical notebook or an app where you write down every purchase, no matter how small. The act of writing things down forces you to pause and think about your spending, making you more conscious of where your money's going. But if journaling feels like too much work, don't worry. There are other tools that can help. Enter budgeting apps. Tools like Mint, YNAB, You Need a Budget, or even a simple spreadsheet can help you keep track of your expenses in real time. These apps categorize your spending automatically, so you can instantly see where your money is going, whether it's food, entertainment, or transportation. Some apps even send alerts if you're nearing your spending limits in certain categories, giving you an extra layer of control. But tracking is only half of the equation. The real power comes from monitoring your spending patterns over time. After tracking your expenses for a few weeks, look at the bigger picture. Are there any areas where you're overspending? Are you constantly hitting your dining out budget while your grocery budget goes untouched? Identifying these trends can help you make smarter choices in the future. Now, some of you might be thinking, that sounds like a lot of work. But remember, the effort you put into tracking and monitoring will pay off in the long run. You'll be more aware of your habits, and over time, you'll start to see where you can cut back, whether it's skipping an extra latte or limiting impulse buys. Ultimately, tracking and monitoring your spending allows you to make adjustments that align with your financial goals. If you're focused on saving for a big purchase or paying down debt, this awareness will help guide your decisions. We'll dive deeper into understanding the differences between fixed and variable expenses. Knowing how to manage these types of expenses is key to staying within your budget and making smarter financial decisions moving forward. Stay tuned, because this next step will help you take even more control of your financial future. When it comes to creating a budget, One of the first concepts you need to understand is the difference between fixed and variable expenses. These two categories form the foundation of your financial planning, and knowing how to manage them is essential for building a budget that works for you. Let's break it down. Fixed expenses are the costs that remain constant month after month. These are your non-negotiable bills that you must pay regardless of how much money you earn or how you feel that month. Examples include rent or mortgage payments, car loans, and insurance premiums. Fixed expenses are predictable, which means they can be easily incorporated into your budget. But then we have variable expenses. These are the costs that fluctuate based on your lifestyle and consumption. Think groceries, utilities, entertainment, or gas. While you have control over these expenses, they can vary month to month depending on your needs and habits. This makes them trickier to manage than fixed expenses. Now, managing fixed expenses is straightforward. These are often set in stone, so the best approach is to ensure you can comfortably cover them first before allocating money to anything else. These expenses should always be prioritized in your budget. For variable expenses, however, the strategy is a little different. The goal here is to monitor and adjust. You have flexibility with these costs, so you can make conscious choices to reduce them if needed. Maybe you're spending too much on takeout or subscription services you don't use. By tracking your spending and adjusting these variable costs, you can free up more of your budget for savings or other priorities. One key tip when managing these expenses is to categorize them into needs and wants. Needs, like groceries or gas, are essential, while wants, like entertainment or dining out, can be adjusted or eliminated if necessary. By consciously managing your variable expenses, you give yourself more financial breathing room. Understanding and managing these two types of expenses is essential for building a realistic budget. But as life changes, your budget will need to adapt too. You'll want to know how to adjust for unexpected expenses, emergencies, or even changing income. We'll dive into how to adjust your budget for flexibility. Whether it's adjusting to a change in income, unexpected costs, or simply reevaluating your priorities, flexibility is key to a sustainable budget. Stay tuned for tips on how to make sure your budget works for you, no matter what life throws your way. One of the most important aspects of creating a realistic budget is ensuring it's flexible. Life is unpredictable, and your financial situation can change from month to month. Whether it's an unexpected expense, a pay raise, or an emergency, adjusting your budget to be flexible can help you stay on track, no matter what. The first step in adjusting your budget for flexibility is to identify areas where you have control. While your fixed expenses like rent or utilities are typically non-negotiable, your variable expenses, things like food, entertainment, and transportation, can fluctuate. This is where flexibility comes in. If something unexpected comes up, you can adjust your variable spending to absorb the shock without completely derailing your financial plan. One effective strategy is to create a buffer within your budget. Think of this as extra money in your variable expense category that you don't touch unless necessary. For example, if you know that some months may have more spending on groceries or a planned vacation, add a cushion to your budget. That way, if life happens, you won't have to scramble for cash or dip into savings. Another key area where flexibility comes into play is in the savings portion of your budget. You might set a goal to save a certain percentage of your income, but what happens if your income fluctuates or you have an unexpected expense? That's where flexibility matters. If you can't meet your savings goal one month, adjust it slightly rather than abandoning it altogether. Remember, consistency is more important than perfection. And let's not forget about debt payments. If you have outstanding loans, try to build in some wiggle room for those payments. If an emergency arises, such as medical bills or car repairs, you may need to temporarily adjust your debt repayments. The key is to always prioritize the essentials, but if necessary, make temporary adjustments while planning to catch up later. Flexibility in your budget doesn't mean being reckless with your spending. It's about being adaptable to changes and having a clear plan for when life throws you a curveball. With a flexible budget, you gain peace of mind knowing that you're prepared for anything while still working toward your long-term financial goals. We'll take a deeper dive into something that's crucial for those unexpected moments: emergency savings. How can having an emergency fund make all the difference when it comes to staying financially secure? Stay tuned to find out why building an emergency fund is one of the smartest decisions you can make for your financial future. When we think about financial security, the first thing that often comes to mind is saving for retirement. But there's something even more immediate that you need to prioritize first: emergency savings. This fund acts as your financial safety net, ready to catch you when life throws the unexpected at you. Imagine this: your car breaks down, your roof starts leaking, or you're suddenly faced with medical bills. If you don't have an emergency fund, these unexpected costs could throw your entire financial life into disarray. But with emergency savings in place, you can tackle those challenges without stressing about how to cover the costs. So why is emergency savings so important? Life is unpredictable, and financial setbacks can happen to anyone. An emergency fund isn't just a luxury, it's a necessity. It gives you the peace of mind to know that no matter what happens, you'll be able to handle it without falling into debt. Think of it as your first line of defense against the chaos that life can sometimes throw at you. The beauty of having an emergency savings fund is that it prepares you for the unknown without derailing your long-term financial goals. When you're living paycheck to paycheck or relying on credit cards to cover emergencies, you risk digging yourself into a deeper financial hole. Having an emergency fund helps you avoid that cycle, ensuring that you're not just surviving, but thriving in your financial journey. Now you might be thinking, how much should I save? Financial experts recommend aiming for 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. This may sound like a lot, but once you start building it up, you'll see how quickly it adds up. And once you hit that target, your stress levels decrease significantly because you know you're prepared for whatever might come your way. But the real question is, how do you get started? How do you begin building this essential fund? That's exactly what we'll cover: a step-by-step guide to building an emergency fund. We'll break down the best ways to start, how to stay motivated, and how to make sure that fund is accessible when you really need it. So stay tuned and get ready to take control of your financial future, starting with your emergency savings. When it comes to financial stability, there's one crucial step that can make all the difference: building your emergency fund. Think of it as the foundation of your financial house. Without it, even a small setback can cause major damage to your finances. But don't worry, we're going to break it down step by step so you can build your emergency fund the right way. First things first, set a goal. How much should you aim for? While 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses is ideal, it's okay to start small. The goal is to have enough saved up so that if life throws a curveball, whether it's a car repair, medical bill, or a job loss, you're not forced to rely on credit cards or loans to cover the cost. Starting with a realistic target gives you a clear and achievable goal. Next, you'll want to decide where to keep your emergency fund. This money should be easily accessible, but not too tempting to dip into. A high-yield savings account is an excellent choice. It offers a safe place for your funds while earning a little interest on the side. Make sure the account is separate from your regular checking account to avoid accidentally using it for non-emergencies. Now let's talk about how to build it. The best approach here is to set up automatic transfers from your paycheck directly into your emergency savings account. Even if it's a small amount at first, the key is consistency. Think of it like paying a bill every month without fail. You can always increase the amount later, but the habit of saving regularly is what will help you grow this fund over time. If you're just starting out and can't afford big transfers, start with a manageable amount. Every little bit adds up. Even $50 or $100 a month can make a difference, and over time, those small amounts will compound into something substantial. As you get closer to your goal, you might be tempted to stop saving. But remember, emergencies don't always happen on a schedule. Keep saving until you've reached your full target. Once that's done, your emergency fund will give you the peace of mind to handle life's curveballs without worrying about derailing your financial progress. Lastly, keep your fund liquid. It should be there when you need it, not tied up in long-term investments that you can't access right away. This isn't the money you're saving for a house or a car. This is your safety net, and it needs to be available when you need it most. Building an emergency fund might feel like a challenge, but the payoff is worth it. Once you've set the foundation, you'll have the financial stability to focus on other goals, like retirement or investments. We'll dive into the exciting world of retirement accounts. What are they? How do they work? And how can you start contributing to them today to ensure a comfortable future? Don't miss out on this crucial information. When it comes to saving for the future, retirement accounts are your best friend. They allow you to build wealth for the long term, often with tax advantages that can accelerate your savings. But with so many options out there, it can be overwhelming to know where to start. Let's break it down and get a clear understanding of the different types of retirement accounts available, so you can make informed decisions about your financial future. First up, let's talk about the 401k. This is one of the most common employer-sponsored retirement plans. If your employer offers a 401k, you should definitely consider taking advantage of it. Here's why. Many employers will match your contributions, which means you're essentially getting free money. Imagine putting in $100 and having your employer add another $100 on top, just for saving. Plus, the money you contribute is deducted from your paycheck before taxes, lowering your taxable income for the year. Now let's look at the traditional IRA, individual retirement account. Unlike a 401k, a traditional IRA isn't tied to your employer, so you can open one on your own, regardless of where you work. Contributions to a traditional IRA may be tax deductible, and the money grows tax deferred until you withdraw it in retirement. This means you won't have to pay taxes on your contributions or earnings until you start pulling the money out, usually at retirement, when you might be in a lower tax bracket. If you're looking for tax-free growth, then a Roth IRA could be a great option. With a Roth IRA, you contribute after-tax dollars, but the big advantage comes when you withdraw the money. As long as you follow the rules, your withdrawals, including any earnings, are completely tax-free. This makes Roth IRAs a fantastic choice if you expect to be in a higher tax bracket when you retire. There's also the SEP IRA and Simple IRA, which are designed for self-employed individuals and small business owners. These accounts allow for larger contributions than a traditional IRA, which can be a huge benefit if you're building wealth on your own. Like the other IRAs, these accounts allow your contributions to grow tax-deferred. What's important to understand is that these accounts aren't just about saving money, they're about tax strategies. A 401k and traditional IRA help you lower your taxable income today, while a Roth IRA lets you avoid paying taxes on your earnings in the future. Each type of account has its pros and cons, and it's essential to choose the right one based on your current financial situation and future goals. When it comes to selecting which retirement account to use, consider a few key factors: your income level, whether or not your employer offers a 401k match, and how soon you plan to retire. By carefully evaluating these, you'll be able to maximize the benefits of these accounts and set yourself up for a financially secure future. But even with the right retirement account in place, one key question remains: how much should you actually save for retirement? That's where we'll break down how to calculate your retirement savings goal and figure out what you need to do to reach it. Don't miss it. Saving for retirement can feel like a massive, long-term goal, and knowing exactly how much you need to save can be overwhelming. But don't worry. The key to making this manageable is breaking it down into simpler steps. So how much should you be saving for retirement? First, let's start with a simple rule that's widely recommended: the 15% rule. The idea is that you should aim to save 15% of your gross income each year for retirement. This includes all your retirement accounts, your 401k, IRAs, and any other retirement savings you have. If you're able to save this amount, you'll likely be in good shape for a comfortable retirement. Of course, if you're behind on savings, don't panic. There are steps you can take to catch up, and we'll talk about those in the next video. But why 15%? This is based on the assumption that over time, your money will grow thanks to compound interest and that you will work for several decades. It's also based on the idea that your living expenses in retirement will be about 70 to 80% of what they are when you're working. So 15% is the sweet spot to help you maintain your lifestyle once you stop working. Of course, everyone's situation is different. If you're older and haven't started saving much for retirement, you'll need to save more than 15% to catch up. You may even need to aim for 20%. 25% or more, depending on how much time you have left before retirement and how much you've already saved. The earlier you start, the easier it will be to hit that 15% target, and the more time you'll have for compound growth to work in your favor. Another helpful approach is using a retirement calculator to estimate how much you'll need based on your expected lifestyle and retirement age. These calculators take into account factors like inflation, life expectancy, and the expected return on your investments, so they can give you a more precise savings target. It's a great tool to help you see how much you should aim to save each month or year. One common question is, how much should you have saved by certain ages? The general guidelines suggest that by age 30, you should aim to have saved the equivalent of your annual salary. By age 40, it should be about 3 times your annual salary, and by age 50, you should have 6 times your salary saved. These are rough benchmarks, but they give you a good target to aim for as you approach each decade of your career. But let's not forget the bigger picture. The amount you need to save for retirement is also influenced by how much you want to spend in retirement. If you want to live lavishly or travel extensively, you may need to save more than someone who plans to downsize and live more simply. So make sure you're factoring in your desired retirement lifestyle when setting your savings target. Now, with all this in mind, you might be wondering, how do you actually save this amount? That's where things can get tricky. You can't just wish for more savings. You have to put a strategy into place. We'll dive into the strategies for increasing your savings and discuss practical steps you can take right now to boost your retirement fund. Whether you want to cut down on expenses or increase your income, we'll cover the best ways to ensure you're putting more toward your retirement every month. Increasing your savings doesn't have to be complicated, but it does require intentional effort. Whether you're saving for emergencies, retirement, or a combination of both, the strategies you put in place can make a world of difference. In this video, we'll explore some of the best ways to boost your savings and ensure that your financial future is secure. First, let's talk about automating your savings. One of the simplest yet most effective ways to save is by setting up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings or retirement accounts. When you make saving automatic, you're more likely to stick with it. It's like paying yourself first, out of sight, out of mind. Set up an amount that's manageable but consistent, and let the automation handle the rest. Over time, these small deposits add up, and before you know it, you've built a solid savings foundation. Another powerful strategy is to cut back on discretionary spending. This doesn't mean living like a hermit, but rather being mindful of where your money's going. Do you really need that daily coffee from the cafe? Or can you cook dinner at home more often instead of eating out? Small adjustments like these can free up extra cash that you can funnel directly into your savings. The goal isn't to deprive yourself, but to make smarter choices that align with your long-term financial goals. Next, consider increasing your income. This could mean asking for a raise, taking on a side hustle, or finding ways to monetize a hobby. The more money you bring in, the more you can save. If your current income is stretched thin, increasing your cash flow gives you more wiggle room to put towards savings. Don't be afraid to explore new opportunities, whether it's freelance work, part-time jobs, or even passive income streams like investing. Every extra dollar counts. If you have a budget in place, this is the perfect time to review and adjust it regularly. Take a close look at your spending habits and see where you can tighten things up. Maybe there are subscriptions you've forgotten about, or services you're paying for but not really using. Cutting back on unnecessary expenses can free up funds to put towards your savings goals. It's also worth considering reducing or eliminating high-interest debt. While saving for emergencies and retirement is important, if you're carrying a lot of high-interest debt, it's eating into your ability to save. By prioritizing paying down high-interest debt, you'll have more financial flexibility to put towards your savings once those monthly payments decrease. Another strategy is finding ways to save on fixed expenses. For instance, refinancing your mortgage, negotiating lower rates for your car insurance, or switching to more affordable utility plans can help free up money. Small changes like these might seem insignificant at first, but when you add them up, they can make a big difference in your savings potential. Lastly, if you get a windfall, such as a tax refund or a work bonus, consider saving or investing that extra money instead of spending it. It might feel tempting to treat yourself, but using that money to bolster your savings can pay off much more in the long run. Even if it's just a small percentage, putting it toward your emergency fund or retirement can help you reach your goals faster. Each of these strategies helps you inch closer to your savings goals. But remember that consistency is key. It's not about saving the biggest amount in a single month. It's about making steady progress, month after month, so that you're always moving forward. Now, saving is a critical part of securing your financial future, but it's only one side of the equation. We'll dive into understanding the different types of debt, including the difference between good and bad debt, and how managing your debt plays a crucial role in improving your overall financial health. When it comes to debt, not all of it is created equal. Some debts can actually work in your favor, helping you build wealth or improve your financial future. Others, however, can keep you trapped in a cycle of financial stress. Understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt is key to managing your finances and setting yourself up for long-term success. Let's start with good debt. This type of debt typically involves borrowing money to invest in something that will increase in value over time. A classic example of good debt is a mortgage. While a mortgage is a long-term commitment, it allows you to buy a home, which usually appreciates in value over the years. As long as you manage your payments responsibly, this type of debt can be a smart financial move that builds equity for your future. Another form of good debt is student loans, assuming you're borrowing to invest in your education, especially if it's a degree that will lead to higher earning potential. While student loans can feel overwhelming, the return on investment, your ability to earn a higher income, can far outweigh the costs of the debt over time. As long as the degree you're pursuing provides value in the job market, this can be seen as good debt. Business loans are another example of good debt, particularly for entrepreneurs. If you take out a loan to start or grow a business, and that business generates profits over time, the debt becomes an investment in your future. By using borrowed money to fund your business, you can scale quickly and leverage opportunities that wouldn't be possible with just personal savings. Now let's shift gears and talk about bad debt. Bad debt is usually associated with borrowing money for things that don't provide long-term value. For example, using credit cards to finance lifestyle purchases, things like clothing, gadgets, or dining out, can be a form of bad debt. These purchases don't typically appreciate or provide any financial return, and the high interest rates attached to credit card debt make it difficult to pay off. Another example of bad debt is payday loans. These loans may seem like a quick fix to financial problems, but they usually come with extremely high interest rates and short repayment periods. Borrowing money for immediate expenses with no long-term benefit can leave you in a cycle of debt that's hard to escape. Similarly, auto loans for expensive cars can also fall into the bad debt category. While a car is a necessity for many people, purchasing a new car that depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot means that you're spending more than the car is worth. If you're financing a vehicle that you can't afford or that doesn't fit within your budget, the debt could be a financial burden rather than a beneficial asset. So what's the key difference between good and bad debt? It all comes down to value. Good debt helps you create wealth, build assets, or invest in your future. Bad debt drains your finances and doesn't provide any real return. It's essential to recognize which debts are working for you and which ones are holding you back, so you can make informed decisions about how to manage your money effectively. The important thing is to stay mindful of how you're using debt. It's easy to get caught up in borrowing for non-essential items, but being strategic about what you finance can make a big difference in your financial health. And remember, just because a debt is considered good doesn't mean it's without risk. You still need to ensure that you can manage payments and avoid overextending yourself financially. We'll dive deeper into the next critical step: how to prioritize debt repayment. We'll explore strategies for paying off both good and bad debt in a way that makes sense for your financial goals, so you can break free from the debt cycle and move closer to financial freedom. When it comes to managing debt, one of the most important skills you can develop is how to prioritize debt repayment. It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you have multiple debts to handle, but the key is knowing which ones to tackle first. By strategically managing your payments, you can save money, reduce stress, and pay off your debts faster. Let's start with the debt avalanche method, one of the most efficient ways to prioritize. With this method, you focus on paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first, while continuing to make minimum payments on your other debts. The idea here is simple. High-interest debt, like credit cards, can accumulate faster, making it more costly over time. By eliminating this debt first, you reduce the amount of interest you pay, which helps you save money in the long run. Once the highest interest debt is paid off, you move on to the next highest and so on, until all debts are cleared. This method saves you the most money over time, but it requires patience, as it may take longer to see results compared to other strategies. On the flip side, there's the debt snowball method. This approach focuses on paying off your smallest debt first, regardless of interest rates, while continuing to make minimum payments on the larger debts. The benefit of this method is the psychological boost you get from quickly eliminating smaller debts. It's motivating to see debts disappearing one by one, which can keep you on track as you continue to work through the bigger debts. While it may cost you a bit more in interest over time, many people find the snowball method to be more motivating, especially when they see tangible progress early on. Another key consideration when prioritizing debt repayment is your emergency fund. While paying off debt is a priority, it's also essential to have a safety net in case of unexpected expenses. Having an emergency fund of at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses means you won't need to rely on credit cards or loans when life throws you a curveball. If you're in a position to do so, try to balance paying off debt with building this emergency fund to avoid further financial strain down the road. It's also important to consider interest rates and fees when deciding which debts to pay off first. Sometimes it's not just the amount of the debt that matters, but how much it's costing you over time. For example, payday loans or high-interest credit cards can quickly snowball, making it hard to get ahead. By prioritizing these high-interest debts, you prevent them from becoming a bigger burden in the future. One more thing to keep in mind is your overall financial goals. If you have a short-term goal like buying a house or saving for a vacation, you may want to adjust your strategy to focus on paying off the debts that are most likely to affect your credit score. While this may not always be the most efficient way to pay off debt, it can help you reach those goals faster. Everyone's situation is unique, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to debt repayment. Whether you choose the debt avalanche method, the debt snowball method, or a hybrid approach, the most important thing is to stay consistent and committed to your plan. We'll explore something equally important: interest rates and fees. Understanding how these impact your debt can help you make smarter choices when it comes to repayment. So stay tuned to learn how to navigate these often overlooked factors. When managing debt, one of the most crucial concepts you need to fully grasp is interest rates and fees. These seemingly small numbers can have a huge impact on the total amount you end up paying over time. If you don't understand how they work, you could be throwing away money every month, making it harder to get out of debt. Let's start with interest rates. Interest is essentially the cost of borrowing money, and it's usually expressed as a percentage of your outstanding balance. For example, if you have a credit card with an interest rate of 20%, that means you're paying 20% of your remaining balance each year just for the privilege of borrowing that money. Over time, this can add up quickly, especially if you're only making minimum payments. One of the key things to understand is that higher interest rates mean you'll pay more in interest, and your balance will be harder to pay down. This is particularly problematic with revolving credit like credit cards. If you're carrying a balance month to month, the interest will keep accumulating and the balance will take longer to pay off, even if you make consistent payments. Now let's talk about fees. While interest rates determine how much you'll pay on your balance, fees are additional charges that lenders impose for various reasons. There are a variety of fees that can creep up, from annual fees on credit cards to late payment fees, over-limit fees, and cash advance fees. While these may seem small, they can quickly add up, especially if you're juggling multiple debts. One of the biggest traps to watch out for is compound interest. If you're not able to pay off your debt quickly enough, the interest on your balance starts to compound, meaning you end up paying interest on the interest. This can exponentially increase the amount you owe, making it harder to dig yourself out of debt. The longer you let interest accrue without paying it down, the more you'll have to pay in the end. Understanding how fixed versus variable interest rates work is also important. A fixed rate stays the same throughout the life of the loan or credit card balance, making it easier to plan your payments. On the other hand, a variable rate can fluctuate based on market conditions, meaning your monthly payments could increase unexpectedly. It's important to know which type of interest rate you have, as this will affect how much you're paying over time and how to plan your budget accordingly. In addition to the interest rate itself, You'll also want to consider the APR, the annual percentage rate. The APR reflects not only the interest rate, but also any fees or additional costs associated with a loan or credit card. This gives you a better idea of the actual cost of borrowing money. Always check the APR before committing to a loan or credit card, as it gives you a more accurate picture of what you'll be paying. So how do you deal with high interest rates and fees? One of the most important things is to pay attention to your credit score. The higher your credit score, the more likely you are to qualify for lower interest rates and better terms. If your score is low, it could result in higher interest rates, which means you'll pay more for credit. If possible, take steps to improve your credit score by making timely payments, reducing debt, and avoiding high-interest loans. Finally, debt repayment strategies like the debt avalanche and debt snowball methods can help you prioritize which debts to pay off first. If you have high-interest debts, focusing on those first can save you money in the long run. The key is to create a repayment plan that works for your unique financial situation and to stay on top of your interest rates and fees. We'll dive into a powerful strategy that can help you simplify and reduce your debt: debt consolidation and refinancing. By consolidating your debts or refinancing high-interest loans, you could lower your payments and make managing your finances much easier. Stay tuned to learn how these strategies can save you money and accelerate your path to becoming debt-free. Managing debt can feel like a never-ending cycle, with multiple bills stacking up, each one carrying a different interest rate and due date. It can become overwhelming, especially when you're trying to keep up with payments while still managing everyday expenses. But what if there was a way to simplify your finances and make the process of paying off your debt easier? That's where debt consolidation and refinancing come in. Let's break it down. Debt consolidation is a strategy where you combine multiple debts into one single loan. Instead of juggling various payments to different creditors, you only have to make one payment each month. It's like hitting the reset button on your debt. The idea is to simplify your financial life and possibly lower your interest rate in the process. But how does this work? Well, if you're paying high interest rates on multiple credit cards or loans, consolidation can be a game changer. By taking out a new loan to pay off your existing debts, you may qualify for a lower interest rate. This can help you save money over time and make it easier to pay off the balance. You'll also avoid late fees or the risk of missing a payment since you're now only dealing with one bill. However, the key is to find a consolidation loan with terms that suit your financial situation. Otherwise, you could end up paying more in the long run. On the other hand, refinancing is another option to consider. Refinancing involves replacing an existing loan with a new one that has better terms, typically a lower interest rate or a different repayment schedule. Think of it as getting a better deal on the loan you already have. Whether it's a mortgage, car loan, or personal loan, refinancing allows you to reduce your interest rates, lower your monthly payments, or even shorten the length of the loan. For example, refinancing a high-interest credit card into a personal loan with a lower rate could save you a significant amount of money in interest over time. However, there's one important thing to note. While refinancing can reduce monthly payments, it may also extend the life of the loan. This means that although you'll pay less every month, you could end up paying more interest overall if you don't refinance wisely. Additionally, not all loans qualify for refinancing, and your credit score plays a major role in whether or not you'll qualify for a better rate. So, how do you decide which option is best for you? It all comes down to your personal financial situation. Debt consolidation might be ideal if you're overwhelmed by multiple payments, as it will simplify everything. Refinancing might work better if you're looking to reduce your interest rate on a single loan or lower your monthly payments. Whatever the option, it's important to carefully consider the terms of each loan and how it fits into your overall financial strategy. We'll dive deeper into how to build a debt-free lifestyle, focusing on practical tips that will help you break free from the debt cycle for good. We'll talk about creating a budget that works, staying disciplined with your spending, and making long-term financial choices that set you up for success. Make sure to tune in for these essential steps that will guide you toward achieving financial freedom. Living debt-free isn't just a dream, it's a practical, achievable goal with the right approach. But where do you start? The road to a debt-free lifestyle isn't about making drastic changes overnight. It's about making consistent, intentional choices to build a solid financial foundation. The first step is to create a budget that reflects your current situation. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by bills, loans, and daily expenses, but a budget can help you gain control. Start by tracking every dollar you spend for at least a month. Once you have a clear picture of your income and expenses, categorize them. Identify the non-essential expenses you can cut back on. This could mean dining out less or canceling subscriptions you don't use. The goal isn't to live without enjoyment, but to make conscious decisions that free up money for debt repayment. Next, focus on paying off high-interest debts first. This is where the debt avalanche method comes in. By prioritizing the debts with the highest interest rates, you can save money on interest over time and eliminate your debt faster. You don't have to tackle everything at once, but setting a clear repayment plan will help you stay on track. Another crucial aspect of a debt-free lifestyle is building an emergency fund. Life happens. Unexpected medical bills, car repairs, or home maintenance can throw a wrench in your financial plans. Having a small emergency fund, ideally 3 to 6 months of living expenses, helps prevent you from going deeper into debt when these situations arise. It's not just a safety net, it's peace of mind. Along with that, consider automating your finances. Automating bill payments and debt repayment ensures that you're never late on a payment, avoiding late fees and negative impacts on your credit score. Plus, it helps you stay consistent with your goals without having to think about it every month. This way, you're actively moving toward becoming debt-free while focusing on other financial priorities. But being debt-free doesn't mean just eliminating what you owe. It's also about changing your mindset around money. Adopting a mindset of financial discipline and saving instead of spending can make all the difference. Start by shifting your focus from instant gratification to long-term security. It's about prioritizing your future over fleeting desires. The lifestyle shift can be difficult, but with each debt payment, you'll get closer to the freedom of living without financial stress. A debt-free lifestyle isn't just about clearing balances. It's about taking control of your money, your decisions, and your future. And once you've freed yourself from the weight of debt, the next step is to make your money work for you. We'll dive into the introduction to investment basics, exploring how you can take the savings and financial discipline you've built and start building wealth for the future. Stay tuned to learn how smart investing can help secure your financial independence for years to come. If you're new to the world of investing, it can feel overwhelming. But the truth is, investing is simply about putting your money to work to help it grow over time. And the best part? You don't need to be an expert to get started. In this video, we'll break down the basics of investment and how you can begin your journey toward financial growth. First, let's clarify what investing is all about. At its core, investing means putting your money into something that has the potential to increase in value over time. This could be stocks, bonds, real estate, or other assets. Unlike saving, which simply involves holding on to money, investing allows your money to grow and generate returns, helping you build wealth in the long run. Now, if you're a beginner, the most important thing to understand is that investing always comes with risk. But here's the thing, the higher the potential return, the higher the risk. That's why it's crucial to start slow and understand your risk tolerance. That is, how much risk you're willing to take on. As you get more comfortable with investing, you can take on slightly more risk for the potential of higher returns. One of the easiest ways to start investing is by focusing on long-term growth. This means you won't necessarily see huge gains right away, but over time, your investments can steadily grow. Many successful investors follow a buy and hold strategy where they purchase investments and hold on to them for years, allowing them to benefit from compound growth. Compound interest means that you earn interest not just on your original investment, but also on the interest your investment has already earned. So how do you actually get started? The first step is to understand your financial goals. Are you investing for retirement, to buy a house, or simply to grow your wealth? Your goals will help guide your investment strategy. Next, you'll want to decide how much money you can afford to invest. Remember, it's crucial to never invest money that you might need in the short term. It's best to invest with a long-term horizon in mind, as markets can fluctuate in the short run. Once you've got a clear understanding of your goals and budget, you'll need to choose the right type of investment. There are a variety of options, each with its own level of risk and potential return. For beginners, index funds and mutual funds are a great place to start. These funds pool money from many investors and invest in a broad range of assets, offering diversification and lower risk. They're ideal for beginners who don't want to pick individual stocks or bonds. Another important point to remember is that you don't need a lot of money to start. Many online platforms allow you to start investing with small amounts, even as little as $5 or $10. This makes investing accessible to nearly everyone, regardless of how much money you have. Before you dive in, though, you should also think about the costs involved. Some investment options come with fees that can eat into your returns. Always be sure to read the fine print and understand what you're paying for, whether it's management fees, transaction costs, or account fees. Now that you have a basic understanding of what investing is and how to start, the next step is to explore the different investment options available to you. We'll break down the different types of investment assets, including stocks, bonds, real estate, and more. Understanding these different assets will help you make informed decisions about where to put your money for the best returns. So stay tuned as we dive deeper into the world of investment assets, what they are, how they work, and how to choose the right one for your financial goals. When you start looking into investing, one of the first things you'll come across is the different types of investment assets. But what exactly are they, and how do you know which one is right for you? Well, understanding the types of investment assets is key to getting started and setting yourself up for success. Let's start with the most common one, stocks. When you buy stocks, you're essentially buying a small piece of a company. As a shareholder, you have the potential to make money in two ways. The company's stock price could go up, allowing you to sell at a profit, or the company might pay you dividends, which are periodic payments to shareholders. The great thing about stocks is their potential for high returns, but they can be volatile, meaning their value can fluctuate greatly in the short term. If you're new to investing, stocks can feel like a bit of a roller coaster, but over the long run, they've historically provided solid returns. Next, we have bonds. Bonds are a bit more like loans. When you buy a bond, you're lending money to a company or government entity for a set period, and they promise to pay you back with interest. Bonds are generally considered safer than stocks, but with less potential for high returns. They're a great option for those who want a more stable investment, especially if you're looking for regular income through interest payments. However, bonds come with their own set of risks, such as the possibility of the issuer defaulting on the loan. Then there's real estate. Real estate investing means purchasing property with the goal of earning rental income or selling it for a profit. Many people see real estate as a stable, tangible asset. The value of properties often increases over time, and renting out property can generate consistent cash flow. However, real estate requires more hands-on involvement, and it can be expensive to get started. Plus, property values can fluctuate depending on the market. Another asset type to consider is mutual funds. These are a collection of stocks, bonds, and other securities managed by professionals. When you invest in a mutual fund, you're pooling your money with other investors to buy a diversified portfolio of assets. The main benefit of mutual funds is diversification, which helps reduce risk. Instead of putting all your eggs in one basket, like buying individual stocks, you spread your investment across many different assets, which can help protect you if one of them performs poorly. However, mutual funds do come with management fees, which can eat into your returns. Now, while all these assets have their benefits, the key is to understand what works for your goals. Are you looking for long-term growth, steady income, or a bit of both? Diversifying your portfolio by mixing different types of assets can help balance out the risks and maximize your returns. And remember, each type of asset has its own level of risk, and understanding that risk is crucial to making informed decisions. We'll dive into a critical part of investing that helps you navigate the choices you make. Risk versus reward, finding your strategy. We'll break down how to evaluate the level of risk you're comfortable with and how to build an investment strategy that aligns with your financial goals. Understanding the balance between risk and reward is essential for building a strong investment portfolio. So stay tuned to discover how you can make smarter investment choices based on your own risk tolerance. When it comes to investing, one of the most important concepts to understand is the balance between risk and reward. Every investment you make comes with some level of risk, but the goal is to find a strategy that aligns with your financial goals and comfort level. Let's break it down a little. At its core, risk refers to the chance that the investment won't perform as expected. This could mean you lose money, your investment value decreases, or the returns don't meet your goals. On the other hand, reward refers to the potential gains you can make from an investment. How much you stand to earn if everything goes right. Now you might be thinking, how do I know what kind of risk I'm willing to take? Great question. The key is understanding your risk tolerance. This is your ability to endure the ups and downs of the market. Some people are comfortable with high-risk investments, like stocks or startups, that could generate significant rewards. Others prefer safer, more stable investments, such as bonds, that offer lower returns but come with less risk. Your risk tolerance will likely depend on a few things: your financial goals, how long you plan to invest, and even your personality. If you're in your 20s or 30s and saving for retirement that's decades away, you might feel comfortable taking on more risk. The longer your investment horizon, the more time you have to recover from any market dips. But if you're close to retirement or need the money sooner, you might prioritize safer, lower-risk investments. Another factor to consider is your investment strategy. Some investors focus on long-term growth, taking more risks early on with the expectation that things will balance out over time. This is known as a growth strategy. Others might focus on generating regular income through dividends or interest, aiming for a steady and stable return. And this is known as an income strategy. But here's the thing, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It's about finding the right balance between risk and reward that works for you. For example, if you're willing to take on a bit more risk, you could look into assets like stocks or real estate. These types of investments often have the potential for higher returns, but they can also be more volatile. On the other hand, if you're risk-averse, you might want to consider safer assets like bonds or money market funds. A common approach is diversification. Diversifying means spreading your investments across different asset classes, like stocks, bonds, and real estate, to help reduce risk. The idea is that if one investment doesn't perform well, others might be doing better, which can help balance things out. The most important takeaway here is that understanding your own risk tolerance is critical. You don't need to make all your decisions at once, but it's essential to know what you're comfortable with and be realistic about the risks involved. Now that you have a better idea of how risk and reward play into your investment strategy, it's time to think about diversification. We'll dive deeper into how you can build a diversified investment portfolio to ensure that your investments are spread out across various types of assets. By doing so, you can mitigate some of the risks while still aiming for strong returns. Don't miss out on how you can start building a more balanced and resilient portfolio that fits your risk profile. When you start investing, one of the best ways to protect yourself from risk is through diversification. This simply means spreading your investments across different types of assets so that you're not overly dependent on any one investment's performance. Think of it as not putting all your eggs in one basket. If one basket drops, you still have others to rely on. A well-diversified portfolio includes a mix of different asset classes like stocks, bonds, real estate, and even some alternative investments like commodities or precious metals. This helps balance the risk and reward in your portfolio. While one asset class might be going through a rough patch, another might be thriving, giving you a buffer against major losses. The first step in building a diversified portfolio is asset allocation. This is the process of deciding how much of your total investment you want to put into each asset class. A common rule of thumb is to have a mix that reflects your risk tolerance and investment goals. For example, younger investors might have a larger proportion of their money in stocks, which have the potential for higher returns, but also higher risk. In contrast, someone closer to retirement might prioritize bonds, which are more stable and generate consistent income. But here's the thing, asset allocation isn't a set-it-and-forget-it strategy. Over time, your investments will grow at different rates, and your original allocation may no longer reflect your needs. That's where rebalancing comes in. Rebalancing means adjusting your portfolio periodically to make sure it still aligns with your goals and risk tolerance. For example, if stocks have done well and now represent a larger portion of your portfolio than you intended, You might sell some of your stock investments and buy more bonds to get back to your target allocation. Now let's talk about some investment vehicles you can use to build your diversified portfolio. One of the most common and accessible options is mutual funds or exchange-traded funds, ETFs. These funds pool money from many investors and invest in a wide range of securities. By buying shares in a mutual fund or ETF, you're instantly diversifying your investments without needing to pick individual stocks or bonds. These funds also help lower the cost of diversification because they allow you to invest in many assets with a single purchase. In addition to stocks and bonds, you might consider adding some alternative investments to your portfolio. These could include real estate, commodities like gold or oil, or even cryptocurrency. While these assets tend to be more volatile, they can also offer higher returns and act as a hedge against inflation or market downturns. Risk management is another key factor when building a diversified portfolio. You want to assess how much risk you're willing to take and how much risk is inherent in each type of investment. Diversification helps mitigate some of this risk by ensuring you don't rely too heavily on any single asset class. But you also need to be aware of the risks within each investment. For example, while stocks are generally higher risk, they also tend to offer higher long-term returns. Bonds, on the other hand, are usually safer, but may not provide the same level of growth. Building a diversified portfolio isn't about finding the perfect mix right away. It's a journey. As your financial situation and goals evolve, so will your portfolio. The key is to stay informed and regularly assess how your investments are performing. We'll dive into long-term versus short-term investing. We'll discuss the key differences between these two strategies and how you can determine which one fits your financial goals and timeline. Stay tuned to find out which strategy might work best for you, depending on your objectives and risk tolerance. When you're just starting to think about investing, two terms that often come up are long-term and short-term investing. Both are essential strategies, but they operate very differently and can serve distinct goals in your financial journey. Let's break them down so you can understand which approach might be best for you. First, let's look at long-term investing. This strategy is all about patience and building wealth over time. Long-term investors typically hold on to their investments for years or even decades, letting them grow steadily. Think of it like planting a tree. What starts small eventually grows into something much bigger. The key benefit here is that you're often able to ride out market fluctuations. Yes, the market goes up and down in the short run, but over the long haul, the trend tends to be upward. One of the most common types of long-term investments is the stock market, where you might buy shares of companies that you believe will grow and thrive over time. This could be individual stocks or exchange-traded funds, ETFs, which group a variety of stocks together. The main advantage of long-term investing is the power of compound interest, the process where your earnings start to generate their own earnings. It's like a snowball effect. The longer you stay invested, the bigger your return potential. However, the trade-off is that long-term investing requires patience. You need to be comfortable with market volatility and avoid panic selling when the markets dip. On the flip side, we have short-term investing. This strategy involves aiming for quicker profits, often within a period of months or even weeks. Think of it as trying to catch the perfect wave. You're looking for the right moment to ride the market's ups and downs. Short-term investing is typically more hands-on and active, as investors frequently buy and sell based on market trends. Some examples include day trading or investing in more volatile sectors, like cryptocurrency or options trading. The key advantage of short-term investing is the potential for quick returns. If you can successfully time your investments, you might see faster results than in a long-term approach. But here's the catch. Short-term investing is riskier. The market can move unpredictably in the short run, and if you're not paying attention, you could lose a significant portion of your investment. It's not a strategy for the faint of heart, and it requires a lot more knowledge and attention to detail. When deciding between long-term and short-term investing, it ultimately comes down to your personal goals, risk tolerance, and how hands-on you want to be. Long-term investing is often recommended for beginners because it requires less day-to-day involvement and gives you more time to learn and grow as an investor. Short-term investing, on the other hand, can be exciting but risky, and it's best for those who have the time and knowledge to navigate the market more actively.